So today we're going to be talking about overcoming stage fright, and I'm going to talk a lot about my personal experiences in overcoming stage fright, and I use the air quotes here because, well, a little bit of a spoiler, you never really truly overcome stage fright. If you're somebody who struggles with it, it's always going to be at least a little bit of a struggle, at least in my experience and sharing in other people's experiences. But the good news is there are lots of things that you can do to make it a more comfortable, uncomfortable experience. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the experiences that I've had where I really experienced high stage fright. We're going to talk about what happened with them. Spoiler alert, I'm still here. Everything worked out okay. And we're going to talk about some things that I do to practice becoming a better performer and a better person on video and everything else, and so that hopefully on your ukulele journey you can take some of these approaches and make this incredibly stressful thing known as stage fright and hopefully make it just a little bit easier. And so what I want to start with is talking about it's okay to have stage fright. A lot of times people think that there's something wrong with them if they feel intense anxiety and nerves talking to a camera or public speaking or playing their ukulele, at a party or at an open mic, whatever it might be. There's this stigma that we're not supposed to feel nervous or anxious when that happens. And I don't agree with that. I think it's absolutely okay to have performance anxiety and to have stage fright. There's nothing wrong with you for having it. And I think that's a really important step to this, is just acknowledging that, yep, this is something I have and it's okay. It's okay that I feel this way, because when you try to not squash it, when you try to not say, hey, go away, you tend to be a little bit more accepting of it and accepting of what happens as a result of it. There's a great saying, I think it's Bill Hader says it, where it's anxiety is like having a monkey on your shoulder. And if you antagonize the monkey, tell the monkey to go away, shoo it, just like people with anxiety saying, no, I'm not anxious, it's fine. Well, that monkey gets angry and starts throwing stuff everywhere and makes a big mess. But if you instead say, hey, monkey, you're here, I'm here, let's go perform together. Well, you'll notice that that element of the anxiety being kind of personified in this monkey can really help, where you realize, oh, okay, I'm anxious. I have performance anxiety for this thing. I have stage fright. I'm going to take this stage fright and I'm going to bring it on stage with me. It's just part of my experience of performing. And I know it sounds ridiculous. And for those of you that don't have stage fright, this might sound absolutely crazy. But for those of you that do, try this. Try to just acknowledge that your anxiety with performing is just kind of part of it. And acknowledge it being there and take it with you as you go do the thing. Find that really helps and really helped me. And also, this goes to filming as well. A lot of people, as soon as a camera goes on, they freeze, right? A teacher of theirs might say, okay, can you record that one part for me so I can check it out and watch it later? And then you're like, yeah, no problem. I practice all the time. I play all the time. You put on the camera. It's like, oh my God, I've never played before. What's happening, right? Playing for a camera can induce that same type of thing. And that's okay. And a quick tip that I have for whenever you put on a camera to capture something, keep in mind that a camera and a video that you make of yourself playing, that video is not a culmination of all of your efforts. It's just a snippet of this moment. And when you think about it, some days are good, some days are bad, most days are somewhere in between. And when you make a video, if it's below average, that's fine. If it's above average, that's fine. If it's exactly average, that's totally fine, because you're capturing a snippet of time, not a culmination of all your efforts to that point, right? I think that's another important little distinction. And so this first thing that I'm talking about, just, it's okay to have stage fright. So before we talk about how to practice getting rid of it, just know that it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be anxious. I sure as heck am. And it never really truly goes away. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But so the first step that I want to talk about, the first thing to start practicing to get more comfortable on stage and filming yourself is, number one, know your material. So we're talking specifically about stage fright with like performing or playing for other people or filming yourself, right? And when we're doing that, we are playing something on the ukulele, right? It would probably be a lot more stressful to put on a camera and just start noodling and play and send that to someone than it would to play through something, right? Because you don't know what you're going to do. Or if somebody puts you on the spot for a performance and says, hey, play something for me. If you don't know what to play, those are some serious butterflies, right? So step one to overcoming stage fright is really, really know the material that you're going to be performing. Know it inside and out. So whenever I perform something, I try to make sure it's a tune that I've been playing for a long time. In fact, I'm going to be playing at an ukulele festival this month in like 2.5 weeks from now. Not even 2.5 weeks. It's coming up so quick. And it's in England. It's the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain. I'm so excited for it, and I'm a little bit nervous. I've got a 20-minute set I'm going to be playing. Now, I'm doing a little bit of going against my advice here because I'm going to be performing 2 baritone songs that I just wrote. I've just started playing baritone more. We did a live lesson here on Rock Class on it, and I've really been enjoying it. So there's 2 songs I wrote that I really want to play. Very anxious about those because I've never performed them before, right? But what I'm reinforcing that with is I'm playing 3 other songs on my high G ukulele. And these 3 songs I'm going to be playing, I'll play a little bit of each of them for you here so you can have a quick snippet. But these 3 songs are going to be one that's called Weekend With You, one that's called Christie's Walk, and one that's called Remembered. And actually, we've got tutorials of 2 out of the 3 of these that if you're watching this recording, you can check out the link down below. But these songs are each over 10 years old. Remembered I wrote 14 years ago. So when I was getting ready to play this festival, there was a level of confidence with these songs that I had not really experienced in prepping for a festival before because I'd never been playing a song as long as I've been playing these songs before. That is an aspect of really knowing my material. And even though I don't know the baritone songs as well, because I just wrote them just a few months ago, the reinforcement I get from knowing that I'm going to be playing songs that I've been playing for so long really helps kind of settle it down a little bit, right? The monkey there, it's not so angry with knowing that I'm going to be playing these songs. And, you know, the tunes, I'll play a little bit of each of them just so that you can kind of hear them in the different style with it. And because I need the practice. But Weekend With You has this sort of sound. I'm going to be opening with that one. I like to use this one as my opener because it has a lot of different techniques, gets me nice and warmed up, and it's a pretty easygoing song overall. Another song is Christie's Walk, which we have a tutorial of here on Rock Class 101. It sounds like this. And the other song on high G that I'm going to be playing, after playing a couple baritone songs, is going to be a song called Remembered. Lots of ghost note strumming and things like that. It's a good closing piece. Sounds something like this. Kind of fun, right? Now, the reason I'm playing these songs for you is to show you, these are songs I've been playing for a long time. And they're a little different, and by doing this right now, I'm actually practicing towards the performance. And this leads to my second point, right? So the first point there is that you want to know your material really well, right? Know this material, I've been playing it for many hours over many years, right? But the second point I want to make is that you want to practice towards the performance. And this is something that people don't do nearly enough. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm playing live on YouTube. I don't know who's watching this. I don't know who's going to watch this. Me sitting and playing these songs creates anxiety for myself, right? Because I have put myself out there. That is practice towards performing. This act right now that I'm doing is going to better prepare me for when I perform at the festival because I will have an instance of feeling that uncomfortable feeling that I can build off of, right? We practice today what we want to be proficient at tomorrow with, right? And that goes for a lot more than just music and everything else. You can go into a lot of mindfulness and all that good stuff. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm practicing towards the performance. The reality is, if this camera weren't on and I wasn't talking to the world, and I was just sitting in this chair and I was playing these songs for myself, for my dog, who's, oh, she's not here anymore. But if I were just sitting here and playing them, great. But now I go to a festival. I stand up on stage and I see hundreds of people in the audience and I start playing. It's going to feel a lot different than when I was sitting right here in this chair playing all by myself or to my little dog, right? That's something that I didn't practice for. So what we want to do is we want to practice for the performance. And we do this by making ourselves a little bit uncomfortable. Turn on the camera, play the song. Even if you're not going to keep that take, do it. Just to do the take, to get more comfortable being uncomfortable, being in the situation where that camera is on. You're never going to be comfortable putting a camera on and recording yourself without putting a camera on and recording yourself, if that makes sense. You have to keep doing it. When I first learned to drive, going to drive in downtown Seattle was super stressful, like the most stressful thing ever, right? And now it's not because of anything other than I've done it many, 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 many times and become a little bit less uncomfortable with it. And honestly, I still am a little bit uncomfortable with it and don't know if someone's going to hit you or not, but you get more comfortable being uncomfortable by practicing in that uncomfortable situation. There's actually a wonderful study that was done by Brown University on the skill building thing. So what they did is they had a whole bunch of people and they divided them into different groups, and they had to learn how to do this skill with a tablet. It involved like tracing and things like that. And they had people learn this skill in a controlled, distraction-free environment. And then they also had the people learn these skills in a distracted environment, lights, sounds, all sorts of things trying to take their attention away. So they learned it distracted free, some of them, and others in a distracted environment. And then they had these two groups test, and they tested in a distracted environment and an undistracted environment, right? So what happened is at the end of the study, the highest performing people, they were the people that practiced in the undistracted environment and performed in the undistracted environment. That's a lot like when you're sitting in your chair in your music area and you're playing, and then you say, I'm going to perform it in that chair in the music area, and you go through. It's great, right? No problem. But with this thing, the next best people, and they were very close, were the people who performed the thing in the distracted environment as distracted learners. So it wasn't the people that were trying to practice this undistracted. I know this is kind of confusing, but it's people that were distracted while learning ended up actually being distracted performers. And at the very bottom of it all were the people that learned in the undistracted environment and had to perform in the distracted environment. And it makes sense. You're adding adversity by doing the distracted performance, but you're not practicing towards that. And that is something that's very important if you want to be a successful performer, is you need to be able to practice the distracted environment, practice to the difficulty. And that helps immensely for when you're actually in that situation to perform, right? So I did a video on this that involved me skateboarding while playing ukulele at the same time. I'm sure we'll link it in for anybody who's watching this as a recording. But it's so important to practice to the environment that's distracted. And the ways that you can do this is turn on the camera and practice with the camera on. Practice with the camera recording you. Even if you're not actively making a video in that moment, practice in that situation. If it's something like performing, practice playing in front of friends and family. Maybe not as a performance, just, they're out there, they don't mind you playing. Play in front of them. That will help create that sense of familiarity when you're playing for them as a performance, because you'll have that same butterfly feeling that because you've practiced to the situation, right? It can also be simple, like practicing while the TV is on and practicing while you're doing something else with ukulele. Now, one quick note, this is only once you know your material really well, right? Step one was know your material. So you don't want to learn a new skill, brand new skill that you've never done, really distracted, because it's difficult to learn the skill that way. But as you have become practiced with the skill, now you want to practice that skill as a performance. Practice the performance. And that helps so much. I can't stress that enough. The reason why I'm more comfortable playing on camera and why I'm more comfortable playing for people is because I have spent so much time playing in front of a camera and playing in front of people. There's no substitute for practicing with that. So that's kind of the second point I want to make with that. And where this ties back is kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. Remember when I said that performance anxiety is okay, right? I truly believe that it is okay to be anxious while you're playing, right? And know that that anxiety doesn't make you wrong, and it also never really goes away, which I know sounds very counterproductive to the whole point of this live stream, but it's funny because, well, there's a great quote that Eric Whitacre has. Eric Whitacre is a composer, and he posted this on Twitter or something 10 plus years ago. But the quote is, "The terror of performing never goes away. Instead, you get very, very comfortable being terrified." I love this quote, and it's so true. And I would say I'm only comfortable being terrified. I need to work on the very, very. Performing for me is a very stressful thing. In fact, I don't do it very much because of how much anxiety it causes me. I'm going to be doing this festival in just a couple weeks here, and one of my biggest sources of stress right now is the fact that I have to perform in front of people here. But I'm not as nervous as I was when I was performing in Australia like 15 years ago, almost, not quite. When was it? 2010? Oh my gosh, that almost is 15 years ago. Not nearly as stressed as I was then, because I know my material better than I did then, and I've practiced performing more since then. So I've gotten more comfortable being terrified than I was at that point. I played on the Ukulele Site podcast a few years ago. I've actually done it 3 times now, but the first time I was doing it, the Ukulele Site podcast, for those that aren't familiar, have Corey Fujimoto and Kalei Gamiao on it, and they are the best players. They're 2 of the best players in the world, and I was going to be on that podcast, and I was so anxious, right? And this was only a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. It was, I think, 2021. I was so anxious, so anxious, because I didn't feel ready to play with them, right? And what's cool is I got there and I realized nobody cares. What I mean is, nobody cares how good I do or don't do. They just want me to be me. And whatever that is gonna be good enough. I was the one that was creating an expectation of myself to be at a certain level, but no one else had that same expectation of me. It's kind of refreshing when you realize that people want you to succeed. They don't want you to fail. So just go do your best and it's gonna be good enough. And if it's not, which I've had some performances I kind of bombed, well, I'm still here. I'm still doing this. It didn't change any aspect of my life. It's just, I didn't do as well in that performance as I thought. And so I was playing with Corey and Kalei. All of those nerves melted away as soon as I was interacting with them and working with them, because I realized we're just all here to have fun and play ukulele and make music. That's the only reason we're here. And I saw Corey and Kalei make little mistakes and, laugh it off and keep playing, while I made much bigger mistakes and learned to kind of laugh it off a little bit, just like them, because at the end of the day, sometimes those mistakes are the best part of the performance, because they're the things that make us the most human. The human experience is not mistake-free, and so why should a performance not emulate that, right? So mistakes are okay. Anxiety is okay. It's okay to feel nervous when you're performing. You can do things to help with that performance by practicing to the performance, by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and practicing in those. You can also do it by getting really comfortable with the material that you're playing and making sure that you know it inside and out over time. But at the end of the day, Eric Whitacre quote, I think, is the perfect one to sum this up, which is, the terror of performing never goes away. Instead, you get very, very comfortable being terrified. And again, I would say I'm comfortable being terrified. Not very, very yet, but I'm still working on that, and I'll still be working on that. And I'm going to go do this festival in a couple weeks here, and I'm going to be super nervous. I'll probably have the shakes as I'm going out on stage. I'm going to play whatever I play, and it's all going to be great. My wife and child will be in the audience. My kid will see me performing for the first time ever. And you know what? If I totally bomb, that's probably a better story for him anyways, right? Performance anxiety isn't something that's worth being anxious about. You have the anxiety to perform. You don't need additional anxiety that you have the anxiety. Acknowledge the anxiety, accept it, take it with you as you go. And the worst that can happen is not as bad as you think it is. So This is something very near and dear to me because it's something I've really struggled with, and it's something that I think most ukulele performers don't necessarily struggle with. Some people watching this probably think I sound crazy because they love going on stage. They love performing. They get a lot from it, and hopefully some of you watching this are like me, and you can find some solace knowing that you're not alone with this, and it is something that you have to deal with, right? Anxiety is anxiety. It's okay. So, but I'm going to answer any questions that you guys might have. If you're watching this live, feel free to leave a comment. I'm going to read through all the different comments and things. If you've got something with performance anxiety that you'd like to share, leave it down in a comment below. If you're watching this as a recording, we do these every second Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific time. So please try to catch it live here on Rock Class 101. And if not, leave your comment in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to take a look at it. We also have the Rock Class 101 forums that you can leave your comments on, and I'll be reading those as we go through. So let me go ahead and check out the chat here. Hey Martin, and hey Monty from Wisconsin. Monty says, sound like good mindfulness. Absolutely. So much of this is just mindfulness practice. Corey and Calais are amazing. You are wonderful on the podcast. Oh, thank you so much. Corey and Calais are amazing. They are the most fun I've ever had with the ukulele was playing with them on the podcast. No contest. It's just so much fun. Karen says, Matt, ukulele people are probably the kindest people out there. They'll enjoy every note, even the bad ones. Have a great time in the UK. Wish I could be there. Say hi to my teacher, Matt Stead, for me. Oh, I absolutely will. Matt's the one running the festival, and so excited to meet a lot of people who I haven't met and see some people who I haven't seen in many years. Like Mim's going to be the MC there. I'm going to get to see James Hill for the first time in over a decade. Last time I saw James, neither of us had children. It's wild. And then Aaron Kime will be there. I haven't met Andrew Molina before in person, so that'll be fun. Should be a great time. And you're absolutely right. Ukulele players are so kind, and we're very fortunate with that because it's all okay. Another real quick story. I was actually, I saw a performance of Jamie Cullum and his opening act. I can't remember her name right now, but she was a phenomenal singer and songwriter. And she started performing a brand new song, and she messed up the intro and said, "Hey, let me do that again." And roar of applause, right? No one was like, "Oh my gosh, this lady, what's she doing?" No, everyone was so supportive. And she went through it, and she couldn't get through the intro. She's like, "I'm so sorry, I can't remember how to play the song right now. It's brand new. I'm going to play an old one." And that's the nightmare as a performer, right? Everyone was clapping and cheering her on. She played her next song, and it was memorable in a good way. It was everybody wanted her to succeed, not fail. So don't worry about failing. Everyone's kind of in there for it. So, but let's see any other questions and stuff here. Monty says, I played live at our Ook Club. I totally bombed. I'm looking forward to play live again to show my hopeful improvement. That's fantastic. Yeah, I would recommend trying to perform to that situation or practice to that situation, right? If that's playing for some friends or family or putting on the camera and practicing, whatever it might be. But that's awesome. I love that. Let me know how that goes. Karen says, one thing I heard from a guitar site, and that is to breathe. If you can keep your blood pressure down, you won't be so tense. Fantastic reference and exercise here. Going back to the mindfulness that Monty mentioned earlier in this stream. Well, I think the step one for mindfulness is your breath, right? Slow, intentional breathing. Do it while you're performing. Great advice. Slow your breath. Take a nice deep one. It'll help for sure. I love that. There's a couple comments here online as well. Let me go ahead and just take a look to make sure I answer them all. Hey Ron, see you there in the chat there. Looks like there's a post by the Bumblebard, who always has great ones for these. She writes, one way to overcome stage fright is to personify your uke and turn it into an emotional support ukulele. That actually kind of helped me. One of the googly eyes fell inside, though, and now it's permanently stuck there. She's referring to putting googly eyes on your ukulele. Don't recommend it for the ukulele's sake, but yeah, it's kind of like that monkey that's sitting on your shoulder, right? I think that's good. But I think the only way to improve stage fright is to go through the scary situations, but also share your playing with people who are kind and supportive as much as possible, like I have here on Rock Class 101 and with Matt in private lessons. And with certain people I know I can trust. Sharing that way has helped improve my confidence in playing and speaking so much, and I'm forever grateful for that. If you ever have that kind of fear, it's always there, but there are ways to help make it better. Really looking forward to this lesson. Thank you so much. Yeah, nail on the head. A whole bunch of things that I just mentioned there. You absolutely got, and it's so true. it's always there. Practice to it, and as Eric Whitaker said, you'll get more comfortable being terrified. So Carol says, hi from Oregon. Hey, Carol. Good to see you here. Yeah, performance anxiety is a weird thing, right? And if you don't have it, this whole session might be kind of crazy to you. But that's okay, because if you do have it, know that you're not alone with it. For a long time, I felt like I was alone with it because typically, performers don't have performance anxiety. In fact, I still remember some of the first ukulele festivals I'd go to, and even later ukulele festivals I'd go to as well, being in like the green room backstage before the performance, and I'm just a ball of stress. And so many of my colleagues are they're jacked because for them, the performance is the best part of the whole festival, or at least one of them, and they love it, right? And I'm just, that's not my favorite part. And that's okay. People are different. On the flip side of that coin, though, the next day when the workshops are happening, like I love teaching because I love the word oops so much. You're not really supposed to say oops or make oops while you're performing, but during teaching, it's preferred. And in fact, it's welcome. And so a lot of people that are really great performers don't like teaching as much, maybe because they think of it more like a performance, or they're just not as comfortable. It doesn't matter the reason. It's okay that they might not enjoy it as much. But for me, the workshops and teaching, I love that. So it was really funny at a festival once where I was like the only person super nervous about performing, and everyone was looking at me kind of like, okay, why are you nervous? Aren't you an ukulele performer, right? And by everyone, I just mean other performers, and not in a negative way, just in a surprised way, right? And then the next morning we did our workshops, and I'm just buzzing off the walls. Got my materials. I'm so excited to teach this stuff, and all the other teachers there were a little bit more stressed because the performance was more their thing than the teaching, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like I get nerves with performing, other people might with teaching. And that's what makes this whole human thing so cool. We all have things that we're better at and less better at, and it's okay to improve and understand and just continue to try to grow. It's pretty cool. So Kasha says, hi from Wales. Hello. Welcome to this live stream that unfortunately is just about to end here. And so just to kind of recap, we talked about how to overcome stage fright. And the spoiler alert, you never really overcome it. You just get more comfortable being terrified, as Eric Whitaker says. The first thing to note there is that it's okay to have stage fright. I do. A lot of people do. It's not a representation of you as a person if you have stage fright. It's okay to have it. Just try to not be anxious about being anxious. Just have the anxiety and take it with you to go perform. And when you do that, some ways to get more comfortable with performing. Number one, know your material. Play it and practice it for hours at a time and over years. You're not going to be truly comfortable with a song that you just learned, and that's okay. The longer you practice it, the longer you work on it, the better you're going to get at it, which is fantastic. And from there, practice the performance. What I mean by that is practice being distracted, practice in an environment that's stressful, practice towards what you want to be able to perform well in. If you sit in the same chair every single day and practice in that one place, when you leave that chair and go try to perform somewhere, you're not practiced for that. You're practiced for the chair. So you got to be able to practice towards the performance. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations and practice those. And when you've done those things and you come back, it's okay if you still have performance anxiety. It's totally fine. You'll get more comfortable being uncomfortable as you do these different things. And at the end of the day, if you're still anxious, you're still anxious. And that's okay. I'm still anxious. It's okay. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. We always try to read through these. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, we do these every second Tuesday of the month at noon Pacific time. So I hope to see you next time on it live. Thank you for everybody who came in here. If you're watching this as a recording, please leave a comment down below with something that maybe involves stage fright for you. Maybe that was a time that you were really anxious and you overcame it, or whatever it might be. I'd love to hear about your experiences. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much, and have a great one.